And now, an important message from three-time JP Morgan Tournament of Champions champion Mohammed El-Sharbaghi.
Hey guys, I hope everyone is doing well. This is Mohammed El-Sharbaghi sending everyone a message from Bristol. I'm so sorry I won't be able to be with you guys live today, as I'll be playing an event in Pakistan. Yeah, I really hope you guys enjoy the event today, and I really wish to be with you guys, but I'm already really looking forward to be back in January in ToC for the Tournament of Champions 2022, and I really look forward to be back. And yeah, especially that I would love to come back and try and win a fourth one of these. They're really pretty handy to have in the house. They're been really good to have, whether I had guests here, people, anything really. It's been pretty handy to have them for breakfast, sometimes dinner. Sorry about the mess, but it's been really sorry, I'm just having my breakfast for the morning. Yeah. So as I said, I'm really looking forward to be back next year and try to win another one of these. I think they're been really useful, and hopefully I can have another one next year.
Motivation is a quirky thing. Welcome everybody to ToC Unstrung. My name is John Nimick, and I'm coming to you from snowy Boston, Massachusetts. I've had the honor and pleasure of producing the Tournament of Champions since 1992. It's a pleasure now to introduce my co-host for ToC Unstrung, the gentleman who's been master of ceremonies for the Tournament of Champions for the last 7 years, coming to us from Brooklyn, New York, Will Carlin.
Hi, John. I can't tell you how happy I am to be here today and to have something ToC related going on during this time of COVID. I really thank you for putting this all together.
Well, I think we've got some fun lined up for everybody. The Tournament of Champions was founded in 1930. It has proceeded every year except World War II, the 2 years that Grand Central Terminal was under renovation, and then sadly this year due to COVID-19. So we thought we'd put together a fun program based around some of the greatest champions who've ever won the tournament and ever played the game of squash. So we will have a lineup of impeccable champions covering 3 decades, and we'll spend a little time with each of them. We also have some special guests to join us a little later today.
So the idea is that we are going to be spending a little bit of time with them, but not really talking that much about squash. Is that right?
We're hoping really to get caught up with their lives, their times during the pandemic, their families. We've added some family members in the last year, and keep it off the career analysis. But to get us started, we have a video capturing some of the highlights of the greatest moments in the Tournament of Champions from these great champions. Okay, so this is the first iteration of ToC Unstrung, and that means we'll have some learning curve as well. So we'll have to come back to the video, but you would have seen two indelible champions in that video. The gentleman who defined a decade of the Tournament of Champions and really propelled it to an extraordinary new level. Please welcome 4-time winner Jonathon Power and 3-time winner Peter Nicol. All right.
Hello.
Hey,
JP.
How's it going, Peter? Nice to see you.
I'm good, mate. How are you? Hey, Will. Hey, John.
Hey, John. Love it.
Hi.
Good job.
So Peter, where are you calling from, and what have you been doing the last couple of days?
The first thing I want to say is it's tough to hear that when you talk about 3 decades worth, we fit into that 3rd decade. It doesn't feel like I'm that old, but obviously that's happened already. I'm up in a mountain in the northeast in upper state New York. Just going to have a little break this week because it's public school holidays in New York City.
And Jonathon, where are we reaching you?
Yeah, I'm not quite the lumberjack type like Peter, just getting out there and into the woods. But I'm sitting in my apartment in the city of Toronto on a snowy day. Not much more to tell you than that.
Conversation by asking you, Jonathon, a question, which is, given your history, which one of you two did you think would be the first one to be imprisoned by a foreign government?
Well, I think that already happened to me, so it's probably going to be me.
Peter, do you want to tell us about Kazakhstan and your visit?
Nope. It was. I'm going to leave it at this. It was a visa issue, and it was tit for tat. And those 2 days in that cell with Adrian Wizard Davis were some of the best 2 days of my life.
In Kazakhstan. Wow, that's good times.
I know, it was a military facility just at the airport in the middle of nowhere, and our visas hadn't checked out, so we just got reprimanded there and remanded for two days. It was a bizarre experience, but we got out. We stayed.
Peter, back in the day, what was the one thing about Jonathon that really pissed you off the most?
Nothing. I love him. I've always loved him. There's never been anything. Probably the fact that he was funny and I wasn't. He was exuberant. All the things that probably I wanted to be. That probably pissed me off more than anything else. Where I was obviously stoic and quiet and got everything done. But that also pissed me off just in a genuine way, because it was like, can we just get on with playing and get on with it? But at the same time, I got to say this, and I'm getting goosebumps right now. It was such an amazing experience to have that time with Jonathon, and I think we've talked about it subsequently from retiring. Yeah, he pissed me off a lot, but at the same time, he drove me on, and it was so much fun to be part of that for almost a decade.
Jonathon, you're particularly well suited to New York. At least you appeared to feel like it would just fit you like a glove. And in fact, you told me earlier you were sitting in front of a couple pictures that reminded you of nights you'd go to dinner in New York, on evenings when you weren't playing, or maybe when you were playing. But what's your feeling of the vibe of New York City?
Yeah, it's always been good to me. I don't know. I grew up playing junior tournaments there and grew up in North America, so anything that sort of felt like childhood sort of resonated with me, and I was comfortable, knew everybody there in the crowd. And it just so happened that when we were talking earlier, where I'm sitting in my record room, and one of the pictures I had behind me is the table that I used to eat at in New York at Mr. Chow's. It's Andy Warhol and Mick Jagger are in the photo. They were a little more high profile. I didn't quite get that good of a table. But no, I sort of used to go there all the time when I was spending time in New York, and it so happens that a friend of mine took this photograph back when he was shooting for the Rolling Stones.
Awesome. I promise not to talk too much squash, but I want to take you both back for a moment to 1996. We had moved the Tournament of Champions out of Grand Central due to the renovation, and we were at the Heights Casino. And it was a memorable tournament on a number of levels, not the least of which because it contained your third meeting against each other, but because Jonathon achieved something extraordinary. And Jonathon, what are your memories of your rocket ride through that tournament?
Well, it started off pretty normal. I was in the qualifying, and I took, I think, a bus to the tournament. So I was kind of like a lowly player trying to work my way up. Proceeded to forget my shoes, squash shoes. I heard they're important. So I borrowed Simon Park's shoes that were a half size too small because he had an extra pair. So I borrowed them for the tournament. And then I qualified for that year's Tournament of Champions, luckily. And then I went on to win the rest of the matches, and then my first major title from the qualifying. So that was a special moment. It started off pretty Jonathon Power-esque and finished off very Peter Nicol-esque with the victory.
Well, it really, it had never been done, and it may never be done, to come from qualifying and win a major. So, and that's the one I remember the most about seeing you get launched onto the national, international stage with that tournament. But Peter, I think you have a little different memory of your semifinal encounter in that tournament.
Yeah, I was thinking, who's this guy? I played him a couple of times before, but he's improved in the last 3 months. And I was pissed. I was really upset that I lost to him in the semis. But at the same time, I knew that there was something special about Jonathon. And the couple of times we'd played before, he'd started to show that he was a little bit more serious. He had trained a little bit harder. He was physically better, mentally stronger. And then in that tournament, it all came together. So I was upset, but at the same time, I got it. I knew this was going to be someone who was going to be an exceptional player. But it was upsetting at the same time to lose to a qualifier.
Let's talk about your kids. You both have very distinct personalities. So the question of the moment is, Peter, is Bodhi anything like you?
He's as stubborn as me. But he's also as stubborn as his mom. And I think all three of us here know Jessica and Stanley. So between the pair of us and him, it's but and no and but and no and why can't I? And he's only 7. Can't wait for him to be a teenager.
And Jonathon, what about Parker? She's a young lady, and what's her Jonathon power streak?
Oh, geez, she's nothing like me, which has been delightful. She's very sort of focused on school and precision and not flapping her mouth and she's very sort of fact based. Let's just say so. Far cry from her dad. She loves playing sports and things, but probably certainly doesn't have that competitiveness in sports. But I think she has it in other things, and it's just been a pleasure. She's 14 now, and she just loves so many things in life. So I'm just enjoying watching it happen.
Well, hopefully they'll meet at some point, and you guys can experience that marvelous loop of life when your kids become friends with each other.
Well, they know each other.
So they have met. They met in Bermuda, and I think they had a sleepover one night. This was 4 years ago, and they got on exceptionally well. And Jonathon and I sat down and had a drink together, and they already really liked each other. Parker's awesome. Bodhi's great.
Yeah, no, that formed a while ago.
We've just got a couple minutes left, and Jonathon, I want to ask you a personal question because I've kind of never forgiven you for it. Back in the day, you had a certain attitude about trophies, and I just want to know if you have all 4 of your ToC trophies, or if the Grand Hyatt has them.
Oh man, there's cleaning ladies all over the world with some great trophies. I just feel like it was never my thing. It was never my thing. I don't have any. I don't have if you were over here right now, you couldn't find a trophy or a single thing that represented squash. I think I have somebody's racket that I borrowed in a closet. That's about it. But no, it's been a while. I don't know what that was, but no, I never sort of. I always wanted to keep moving forward and never kept any of that stuff, and don't have any trophies. And like I said, most of them are in the hotels, or maybe my parents grabbed 1 or 2 of them.
We're going to keep you guys on. I'm not dismissing you yet. Peter, I want to ask one question of both of you. Peter, you're coaching Olivia Fichter, an up-and-coming American player. What's her horizon look like?
She's incredibly gifted. And when I say gifted, I mean in terms of her work ethic, her talent hitting, striking the ball, her ability and wish to get better. So across the spectrum, she's excellent. And I think it's going to be up to her how far she goes. But in this last year, where it's obviously been incredibly tough for professional players to do anything and stay motivated, she's really been pushing on and doing a great job. So I think again, it's up to her how far she wants to go. I've had a great time working with her, and I thoroughly enjoy it.
And Jonathon, I don't know what stroke of fate put you and Diego Elias together, but you're a coach to one of the up and coming players from the other end of the Americas. How's that going?
Oh, it's going great. I've been very pleased with this progress. I mean, it's never a straight line. Diego and I've been working together since he was probably 14 years old, with his as a unit with his father and myself. So it's been it's been delightful. I mean, he's still got a few steps, but he's touching it, and he wants to taste it. So I think it'll be one day his to taste.
Great. So we are going to move on with a new guest, but please stay with us for a little bit because we think you will enjoy a few moments with this gentleman.
And now what we'd like to do is, here he is, four-time world number one and the 2009 Tournament of Champions champion, Gregory Gaultier. Greg, say hi to Peter Nicol.
Hey, Greg.
All good. Hi, Peter. Hi, Johnny. Hi, Johnny, and hi, Will.
Nice.
Nice to see you guys.
John, when you guys were playing, Greg was coming up at the end of your career. And Greg, I know one of the things you told me about was that Jonathon in particular was, able to pull some practical jokes on you every now and then. And you told me about one in Sweden, and I'm wondering if you might tell that story quickly while Jonathon's here.
Yeah, so actually what happened is that was, I don't know, like maybe 20 years ago. I just started the tour, and I was in Sweden, and to avoid the cost for players, the tournament organizer make you share the room with someone else. And at that time, of course, I started the tour. I didn't have much money. And the guy who was supposed to share the room with me never showed up, and so I told that to Johnny and to Amr Shabana. And one day I come back from practice and I receive a letter in my room. So I open the letter and I start reading, and it says, "Mr. Gaultier, sorry, but we're gonna have to charge you a double price because your roommate never showed up." And it was signed by it was really well written and signed by the manager with a ridiculous, like, huge Swedish name. So then I take the letter and I go to the next room where Johnny and Amr Shabana were staying, and they were just watching soccer and laying down on the bed, and I was explaining my story, and I was getting loud, and they wouldn't pay attention to my story, telling them, "Hey guys, you see what's happening with this hotel and blah blah blah." They wouldn't pay attention. So I'm really furious, and I run down to the reception, and I start to tell the receptionist, "Hey, what's happening with the check? Why am I paying all this? I'm supposed to share with someone else. The organizer organized that way. The guy never showed up. What's this all about?" And the woman at reception couldn't understand a word, or couldn't understand what was that kind of fake bills, it was about. And suddenly she called the manager of the hotel, and the manager comes to me and she's like, I think this is your friend with the curly hair," and the Egyptian guy who did that. So then I was a bit relieved, and I came back up to their room. I'm like, and I took the paper and I threw to them, and they were just laughing at me because they knew I would get pissed off really quick. So so that was a little trick from Johnny and from Amir, like, long time ago.
John, do you remember this prank on Greg?
Oh, for sure. That was a great one. And I used to do those ones where I would go into the business center and type up a letter on the hotel letterhead and pretend to be the general manager. But I would always sign it from some obscure athlete that these guys wouldn't know because I was always into my sport. So I signed that one, Per Ulrich Johansson. And so he's a fringe golfer from like the early 90s, right? But nobody's going to know some fringe golfer from the early 90s from Sweden. So the general manager was Per Ulrich Johansson. He loved that name. But I had some beauties. One time I did it to the English team and on some joke, and I signed it from the ambassador of the embassy, the UK ambassador, Randall Cunningham. And it just sounds so English, Randall Cunningham. But, I'm I'm an NFL football fan, so I just love grabbing little names like that and putting them in the.
All right. Well, we need let's let us have a little time with Greg on his own, and we thank you guys, Jonathon and Peter, very much for coming to us from where you are. We'll let you go, and thanks so much for being part of ToC Unstrung. Greg, you stay with us, okay?
Great.
Sure.
Nice to see everybody. Peter, good to see you.
Cheers, guys. You too.
Yeah, guys.
See you
Hi,
guys.
guys. So, Greg, thank you again for being here. We are really happy to have you. One of the things, you just heard Peter and Jonathon talk about their kids, and you have two. And I'd love you to tell us a little bit about the differences between your two children, and whether they like sports or they like other things. And I think you told me once that they're not exactly the same. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we have Nolan, who is 8 years old, and he does different sports. He does karate, tennis, a bit of squash. He likes drawing, art, and but he's not crazy about sports. He's more. I think he's more like his mom, into like being artistic, and he likes doing cakes. He's very good at this. And the little one, Liam, who is 3 years old, he's more like dynamic. He's like a little pirate. To make him sleep in the evening, sometimes it's a bit of a mission. He's jumping everywhere. I'm by the end of the day, I'm quite tired from the day, and I have to try to calm him down. He has no fear as well. I remember when I was a kid, I was doing motocross when I was 3-4 years old, motocross and BMX. And when I take him down next to our house, there's like a land where you can do like some bike, and there's hoops, and he has no fear to go there and jump in there, compared to the other one where he's more in control. And so I think the little one is more like me, and Nolan is more like the mother.
Well, you said that. Go ahead, John.
I know we only have one more minute with Greg, and I just can't help but draw a parallel that we just went through the Super Bowl here in the United States, and we had this quarterback named Tom Brady, who's 43 years old, lead his team, the Buccaneers, to the Super Bowl trophy. And Greg, you've said you want to play till you're 40. I want to know why it's not 43.
No, actually, that was my goal when I was like 35. I told myself my goal was to be, before I got this injury, to be still in the top 10 until I reach 40. Obviously, I had this injury. Now I just want to come back, and I enjoy training. I enjoy playing. So I just want to do as good as possible. There's no pressure. And if I'm healthy and I can play until 43, why not? As long as I enjoy what I'm doing, I'm gonna still play. There's no pressure. I love the game so much. I love training every day. I train 4 or 5 hours every day, and I'm just crazy about it. So as long as I have this kind of motivation, I'll keep playing. And why stopping if I love it?
Well, I think this age is appropriate because we've got somebody in the holding pen who's just about 43, I think, and he also happens to be a 4-time world champion. So, Greg, stay with us for a minute as we welcome your friend and our friend, Amr Shabana. Hello, Mr. Shabana.
What's up?
How are you?
G-Force, you still owe me money from Sweden, bro.
Yeah, you got me in this one. I need to get you back, huh?
Do you remember that practical joke as well? Do you remember pulling that with Johnny on Greg?
Yeah, I think it was all up to Jonathan Power at that point, and I think it was a tradition with the Canadian boys, and there was Stephen Castellan as well with them, and they always used to pull pranks on the players. And I was just happy to be on the sending end, not the receiving end. I think Gaultier didn't catch it at all. It was pretty funny. We were all scared what the retaliation would be after that from Greg. We're still scared.
Amr, tell us where we've found you and where you're calling in from.
Okay, at the moment I'm back home in Egypt right now. It's Friday night, which is everybody's day off, so I'm home chilling.
Okay. All right. Well, Greg, I think we're going to let you go and have a few moments alone with Mr. Shabana. So we thank you so much for dropping into ToC Unstrung, and we can't wait to see you either later this fall in some tournaments that get back on for the PSA World Tour, but certainly in January for the 2022 JP Morgan Tournament of Champions. We'll see you there.
Thanks so much.
All right.
Nice seeing you guys. Bye-bye.
Mr. Shabana, how is your relationship with golf these days?
See you, Greg.
So, Amr, are you playing much golf? I think we maybe have lost our audio with Amr.
I think it might be delayed.
Yeah, I got you back. How's my relationship with who?
The sport of golf.
Yeah. So I mean, now that I'm working corporate now, 5 days a week, 8 hours a day, it's tough to get your rounds in. But I'm still doing my solos, aka going also on the putting green and the chipping green. I think that's all I'm doing these days.
Tell us about that. You've gone corporate. What does that mean?
Yeah, so I work for a development company now, a real estate and development company. I work in the after sales department, part of the commercial department. So take care of the residents, try and increase occupancy in the projects that the organization is part of. So it's like every day I'm in a function. Let's look at it that way. So thank you for prepping me through the years, John. All those functions we love doing with you are coming in handy these days.
Well, speaking about prepping you turned the tables on us during the Tournament of Champions. Tell us what your favorite practice time was and what you did to achieve it.
I mean, I was always the one asking where the switch lights were. I loved coming down 7, 8 in the morning, first one in, first one out. I think some of the people part of the tournament were wondering what this guy was doing 7 in the morning. But yeah, I just loved those first 7 a.m. sessions.
Yeah, I think I need to rephrase the question, because what folks don't know is we have armed guards, we have security, we have insurance protocols, we have a tremendous number of restrictions about when we can use the court. But Amr got around all that by showing up early and turning the lights on. Amr, I don't know whether you can see it. I'm not sure in this shot I can show you. Hang on one second. So, Amr, does this remind you of anything?
Yeah, the trophy I think we received for the ToC from the artist Frank Stella, it was?
Yes, it was. And the question
yes,
is, where is it?
Yeah, I still have mine. We just painted the house. So I have all my trophies stored away, waiting for the glass trophy case to be erected. So hopefully by the next ToC, I'll send you a picture. I really love that trophy. I worked hard for it. And I remember when I received it, maybe 8 months down the road, I was really happy I had it after meeting, especially Frank Stella at the ceremony.
Well, stay with us, Amr. We have another good friend of yours and another 3-time champion of the Tournament of Champions to welcome to the program. Also now a retiree, so I'm sure you can give this gentleman some tips on how to enjoy retirement. But please welcome to the program, Ramy Ashour. Hi there, Ramy.
Hi, guys.
Ramy, tell us where we found you and where are you speaking from?
Same company Amr works for, which I'm working with as well. We're all working with the same company probably right now. I just had my academy here. It's a new branch, which is super nice. Hisham came back from New York, so he helped me work that one out. And we're here now, and I'm in the office here, and I thought I'd take the call from here. But it's really good to see you guys, and it's even better. I mean, not better. It's really good to see Shabana as well, because I haven't seen him for a very long time, and I don't know anything about him. So I'm knowing things about him through you guys. So that's pretty cool.
So, Amr, we hope we'll get you back on the squash scene. You're always welcome in New York. We would love to see you back at the ToC someday. We'll spend a few moments with Ramy here on his own, and thank you very much for joining ToC Unstrung. You made a huge difference to the Tournament of Champions. Thank you, Amr.
Come back, Amr.
Much
Come back.
guys. Thank you. Much appreciated.
Ramy, what's your strongest memory about Shabana as a player?
Strongest memory has always been, I mean, about Shabana. I mean, a lot of things. I mean, since the first day I came on tour, I mean, he was there, and he was on tour, and he was on the top, obviously, and I was still like, you know, at the very back of the rankings, and I remember the first time I think we were together on the tour. I think it was in the States, and it was pretty fascinating for me because I always used to see him at the national training in the stadium, and I've always, you know, loved the fact that he was so relaxed. And then me as a player, I've always been so stressed my whole life and so pressured. And I don't know, I did that to myself, or the game did that to me. But seeing Shabana on tour, because seeing him in training and then seeing him on the tour, I've always wondered how come he's so relaxed all the time? How come he's so like he's very smooth, the way he plays and the way he moves around. And so I want to see his real personality on like on the tour as well. And it wasn't honestly any different. His personality is the same way he plays, the same smoothness, the same you know, classiness, the same you know, fairness. Yeah, he's just he's super chill all the time on and off court. So it was very interesting. And that's besides, of course, that he was, I mean he's older than me, and I've always looked up to him. So it was amazing being with him on court, on tour.
I made a joke about you both being, you know, in retirement. Of course, neither of you is in retirement, and you particularly have embarked on a successful and exciting music career. Tell us a little bit about what's happening now and what your goals are for your music.
I've always been loving music. I mean, I used to go on court even at some point.
Oh no, John, it looks like we might have had a little bit of a technical issue with Ramy. You know, as long as you're talking about music with Ramy, oh, there he is. Let him come back.
So I've always been into music since a very young age, and I've always been having my headsets in my ears. Even it got to the extent that I was getting on court with them, so I would stay in the same mental state of I was like high on music all the time. Even being on court, I wanted to stay in this high for the last second before the referee starts the game. But I stopped doing that at some point because I heard players saying that I'm being too cocky, and I'm not, you know, I'm not court with them while warming up. And I think they had a point, and I had to take them off. But I was really doing it just out of being, you know, just I want to stay in the moment. So now I'm pursuing a music career, and I have a lot of I have a lot of projects coming up, and my new song is supposed to come out end of this month.
Well, terrific. We'll need to get a little catalog together and profile some of your songs at the Tournament of Champions in January when we get back to Grand Central. You and I spoke a little bit before this segment, and I just have to ask, how's your love life?
Has been my love life has been good, actually. I've been trying things. I've been trying a lot of, you know, a lot of boats, a lot of drives, a lot of cross country, but in real life, you know, like trying these shots in real life. And I'm telling
You,
you, they're not as easy. You know, when it's a miss, it's a miss. You don't get another chance.
you said I could ask, so I'm asking. All right.
No, for sure. No, for sure. It's very interesting because after retirement,
Oh no.
Well, look, I think we'll take a break. And we didn't get a chance to show the video earlier, so if our producer Pablo could perhaps play that video now, this would be the 60 seconds that'll show you some of the championship moments from our special guests today.
The player they've all come to see, Jonathon Power.
I turned professional when I was 19.
Peter Nicol.
Champion, Amr Shabana.
He's done it, Amr Shabana.
Vanessa Atkinson.
Brilliant display of fighting qualities of this young Egyptian.
But Gregory Gaultier has taken maybe more than
2-11, 11-8, 11-4.
What a performance by Noor Al-Shabini. Wonderful.
There it is.
You know, John, maybe it's great that we saw that right after you talked to Ramy, because he's talking about how much of his music career, and certainly one of the quintessential Ramy highlight moments, was his rally against Gregory Gaultier, where at the end of it, after he hit an amazing reflex volley, he actually went to strum the guitar. So his love for music, and there he is, seems to have perpetuated through both being the headphones before and the racket strumming on the court. Do you remember that moment, Ramy?
amazing. I mean, that was one of the best moments ever, because I wanted to do this. I dreamt about this moment, like I was one of the nine. Like I seriously, I did this out of like I wanted to do this at some point in my life. Like I always thought I wanted to do this. I was sleeping one night and I thought, why can't I just do this after a nice shot? And I never knew when, and that was it just came out like that. That was the right moment. And I was losing against Greg at that time as well. I was
you turned it around and won the match. Yeah, it was an unbelievable. I think it's one of the memories that we all have about you, both on the court and off the court, is that your personality is one of the reasons why New York has always loved you so much when you've come to play there.
Being in New York and being around you guys and being at the ToC, that brings out the best in every player, and this is super true. And I'm sure every player would agree on that. And you guys have always been amazing and great to us with all the hard work and the presentation that you present us with. It's always been a pleasure being there.
I liked your comment to me earlier that you wanted to move to New York City and win the Tournament of Champions at the same time. Sadly, those two things didn't happen at the same time.
It was a dream of mine just to be in New York and living there, and I made a lot of friends there, and I just wanted to win there and just be around them, and that was one of my biggest things. And not everything you plan for works out the way you want it. So but at the same time, I still grew so much in New York, and I loved the experience. I loved being there, and I would go back in a snap. But if it wasn't because of the music and growing my academy here and all that, I would have definitely kept living in New York.
Well, let's not call it over, because we enjoyed the Ram Challenge in 2020, and we'll talk again about some ways to have you back either on court or off.
For sure.
Ramy Ashour,
sure.
Thank you so much for joining ToC Unstrung. You are an indelible part of the Tournament of Champions, and we will see you, I'm sure, in January again back in Grand Central Terminal. We'll see you later. Thank you.
Good.
Bye, Ramy. While we have a second, John, I just wanted the audience to know about how hard you worked to try to put on ToC 2021. And I thought maybe it would be a chance just for you to talk about that for a second before we have some other special guests join us.
Well, like so many people in the live event business, we kept adjusting our horizons, adjusting our timeline. The first thing we did was move the dates from January 21 to April of 21. And as COVID took over our planet and shut down everything in the hospitality business and the live event business, it became apparent we weren't going to be able to do anything in the spring or second quarter of 21. So we actually started looking about to do an outdoor event in New York City because our Oracle NetSuite Open in San Francisco is a successful outdoor event. So if we got the weather right and the timing right, we thought maybe we could do something with social distancing in an outdoor setting. And courtesy of the folks at Tishman Speyer, we were invited to have a conversation about potentially putting the JP Morgan Tournament of Champions on the ice at Rockefeller Center in September. Unfortunately, it was a bridge too far, and we could not get it done. It would have been wonderful to be right at the footsteps of our one of our secondary sponsors, NBC Universal, who are in the Rockefeller complex. But we realized we really needed to reset our thinking and get focused on January of 2022, which we did right around November time. And that's what we're excited to be on, to get ready to have a full-blown, best-ever ToC back in the terminal in January.
And that's just to remind everybody that the dates have been set. We will be January 13th through the 21st. Of course, all things considered with COVID and the like. But we're back. We signed the deal. We will be back in Grand Central and hopefully with fans, with the players, and all of you. And we can't wait, really. We can't wait to be back there. In the meantime, though, we've got some more potential guests here. And I don't know that any Tournament of Champions show would be the same without two of our hosts that people see from afar when they are on PSA TV, Squash TV. And we'd like to welcome in the co-hosts of that telecast, Joey Barrington and Paul Johnson.
All right.
There they are.
Good afternoon,
Hi, guys.
Good afternoon, John.
Nice to be here.
Gentlemen.
Where are we seeing each of you? Paul, where are you right now?
Long story short, Will, when COVID hit the US, I had to leave in July 4th actually, came back to London with a plan of staying for 10 to 12 days and then heading back soon after. But then the US Embassy went into complete lockdown. My visa was unable to get printed up into my passport, and I've basically been stuck here ever since. So it doesn't look like that's going to change anytime soon with all the backlog. So probably looking at maybe March, April 2021 that I'll be looking to head back stateside. So currently back in the UK, getting spoiled, staying at my folks' place, some nice cooked meals and getting pampered. So it's good. Things are good.
And Joey, where are you?
I'm at home. I apologise if there's a bit of a lag, but we're being hit by a bit of a storm here again. The weather's been pretty bad. I'm up on a hill where I live, so it's a little bit exposed. But I'm at my family home, just kind of dealing with homeschooling and looking after my new addition. I've got a baby girl who's 4 and a bit months old now, so. I'm a busy man, even though I'm not working.
Yeah, but probably not sleeping that much either.
No, but I mean, it's probably being the same at tournaments, really, sharing with PJ because of the snoring that he does. I struggle to sleep there. So, it's a bit of, you just live without sleep, really, Will.
Yeah, now I understand. PJ has a very loud snore. I know that also. Now, when you guys are in New York, you have one of the great sort of views of the entire Grand Central, at least in the last few years, where we put you up on scaffolding. So you were actually up above the crowd. And so that brings to mind a question John and I were asking each other is, we wonder if there's any sort of special things that you might have seen the crowd doing from your perch that you haven't been able to talk about or reveal, but here you are. Now, keep in mind, Joey, This is a family show. So tell us what you see. Some editorial gumption here.
Well,
I will just
PJ,
quickly I'll quickly just say that the scaffolding that's brought in, Will, has had to be reinforced over the last couple of years since Joey stopped playing because he's carrying a few extra kgs. So, I mean, there's a significant amount of work going on before and after, obviously, the show begins. But, I mean, I'll leave Joey to disclose some of the stories because I would never throw people under the bus like that.
No. I mean, from my point of view, I am literally just trying to pull PJ down because he uses it as a very good surveying of the young females that come to watch the squash at the Tournament of Champions. So he's primarily distracted by picking out the attractive ladies rather than talking about the world-class squash that's going on. But no, I mean, we see all sorts, but the atmosphere where we are, that location, where we're commentating in such an iconic venue is unbelievable. The beauty about it is because of the acoustics, the crowd don't really hear what we're saying, so we're not distracting in that way, and the players, but yet we're getting the energy and all the crowd and the noise and the atmosphere through to our commentary. So we've done some of our very best commentaries at your event, and it really does help with the atmosphere. And the squash says it, the performances, they happen because of obviously the players playing so well, but also because they are so full of adrenaline in such an amazing atmosphere. It's fantastic. I will need probably some more reinforcing, and probably PJ might need a chairlift for the next event.
Easy on the budget, will you?
You guys are there sometimes a few days before, and you obviously you both know New York at this point fairly well. And I'm just wondering what you do sort of when you're not announcing, but you're there, and what does New York mean to you? What are some of the stories? And if you've ever had an sort of interesting story in New York, we'd love to hear that now too. So PJ, why don't we start with you?
I mean, it goes around, New York's one of the greatest cities in the world and obviously hosts some of the best restaurants in the world. Joey certainly enjoys his food, so he'll give me a heads up a couple of weeks before he's coming out, and he'll just get me on a bit of a mission to find out some of the kind of local or the new Michelin star restaurants that have come into the city. And ironically, over the last few years, the tournament's fallen in and around Joey's birthday. So not only do I have to kind of locate these new restaurants, I also have to start saving up some hard-earned cash because Joey kind of asked me to take him out to some of these venues. But we do get a couple of days to look around, and we've been going since 2009, I think it was, when Joey first invited me into the commentary area. So
2010.
We've had 2010. Sorry. So we've had a pretty good look around of the city over the years. There's not really much that we haven't done. We normally have the mandatory trip down to JJ Hat Centre down on 34th and Park, I think it is. Joey likes to pick up his a couple of hats and what have you. But apart from that, just being in and around the event itself is enough. We literally stay just up the street at the Roger Smith Hotel, which is a perfect location. So we're right on top of the venue there. And just very quickly, listening in, one of the things that I personally love about the Tournament of Champions, it's you're the best tournament in the world, in the best city in the world, and I can also relate as a player. It was the closest you felt to like a superstar. When you look at the tennis events and you look at the World Cup and the soccer events, where these guys get literally treated like proper mega stars. As a player, that was the closest I ever felt to like a proper celebrity. And I think that's one of the reasons, touching on what Joey said before about why we get so many iconic matches and why the players really kind of thrive in that environment, is just because of that sense of all the hard work they put in. They're finally rewarded for those efforts, and it's the atmosphere that's created there. It's bar none. There's nothing like it anywhere else in the world for me personally.
It's really nice to hear from you, PJ. Joey, we only have a few seconds left with the pair of you fabulous commentators and human beings, but do you have a final thought for us?
I mean, I would say probably. I mean, one of the quick story was when we were having a good few years ago. We were doing live to camera introduction right in the main meeting hall by the trains, and we were under. We had a time limit on what we could do because of the permit that was given for filming right in that public area. And PJ and I were going away, and we did get a crowd round us that were watching us do this live. This was quite early on in our career, and we were getting the giggles, which was an absolute nightmare because that very rarely happens between me and PJ. And we were under serious pressure. We ended up getting a bit of a bollocking by the police and everything else because we needed to move on and get this opening bit of the show sorted out. That was certainly something that was very, very funny, and looking back was great that we were able to get that out and just be in an area where you watch in films, you know, that you see Grand Central in the films, and we're in this area doing our own bit of TV and messing it up as we do, like Laurel and Hardy. But it was very cool, and I can't wait for the next event, and we'll do whatever we can to help support and keep promoting and getting squash out there and getting this event back in, obviously 2021, which is wonderful. 2022, which is wonderful.
Well, you guys,
you're working with the police, Joey, and I'm not totally positive it is, but that's a fairly safe one. So thank you for telling us that. We can't wait to see you guys back. I can't wait to see you back and to work with you again next year. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you. Good to see you guys. Look forward to seeing you in 2022.
Thank you, guys. Good luck with everything and stay safe. Thank you.
And John, I think that brings us to our next guest, who is a current player, and she's actually one of the most amazing players on tour. She's been the youngest in almost everything, but please help me welcome into our little booth here, Noor Al-Shabini. So Noor is the youngest world champion, and she was a three-time Tournament of Champions champion in 2016, 2018, and 2019. Noor, hi, how are you? Can you hear us, Noor? Oh, maybe she can't hear us. We can see you. Can you hear us? Maybe not. Noor, can you hear me?
well, let's ask Pablo, our producer, if we have another guest who might be ready to join us. Because while we figure out how to make the connection with Noor Al-Shabini, if we have, because we do have. Pablo, what do you suggest for us? One of the most beautiful faces on tour.
Go ahead and talk, Raneem.
Hi, everyone.
Oh, Raneem, I'm so disappointed we don't have you on video, but we have this fantastic picture of you. It's going to have to do.
Believe me, John, I'm more disappointed. It's the first time in a long time that I actually managed to get a decent shower, put on, like a necklace and an earring. Everything is set for the interview, but Shahir has been quite occupying my time. So I was looking forward to go live with you over video, but I guess audio will have to do today. Sorry about that.
No, don't apologize. We're sorry as well, because not only obviously was it a moment to catch up with you, but to see Tarek and to see your newborn baby Shahir, it would have been marvelous for all of us and for all of the Tournament of Champions fans to see you as a family. How's it going as a young mother?
Well, to be absolutely honest, it was a very month, a very stressful first month. I was so stressed. The newness of everything has been challenging for me. But gladly, after the first month, I started to catch my breath a little bit and calm down and accept the fact that this is something I'm doing for the first time and that I have to take it as it comes. it's a learning process. It's totally different. But trust me, that first month I would have taken the final of the ToC, the stress of the final of the ToC, any time over the stress of having a child crying in your hands and you don't know what to do about it.
My impression of your husband, Tarek, is that he's a very precise individual. He has his engineering degree. He's very smart. Does he just go all googly with Shahir?
Yes, he does. You are absolutely right about him being, very organized and precise, but he also is madly in love with Shahir, and just right now he was flying him like a kite in the house. He's actually been very helpful, and he's been very, very, very great with Shahir. It's been a great time for us, definitely.
It's ironic. I'm trying to think of how to phrase this. We all are suffering and struggling under the pandemic. But the fact that it has really only been Egypt and Qatar that have been able to mount events, and Manchester, it's meant, I guess, that you've been able to be home together much more than you might on a regular world tour schedule.
That is absolutely true. I think Tarek mentioned this before, that he's very happy. Not very happy, obviously. He's a bit disappointed that the tour is not, as consistent as it should be. But he's mentioned that he's happy, that he gets to spend more time with us and get to see every moment that Shahir, every new moment that Shahir brings to life. So he's enjoying his time, definitely.
I also want to assign the right sense of intelligence where it belongs. You are one of the smartest, most personable squash athletes I've ever met, and I remember when I learned you had given a TED talk, thinking that this is just the beginning for Raneem ElWelily. Will there be more? What will you do to sort of parallel the upbringing of your young son? Will you do some more outside endeavors?
Well, I haven't decided anything yet. I'm still undecided. I'm just enjoying being a mother for the time being, to be honest. That TED Talk, as much as it is definitely something that I love doing, but to be honest, it was like speaking out loud in public is not my best feature. It's very stressful for me. So I'm not sure whether maybe in the future I could develop this as as something to do. But for now, I'm just enjoying being a mom.
All right. Well, again, I'm so sorry we're not seeing you and the whole family together. I think we're going to let you go because we have another family to welcome. They're a little bit further down the line than you are in raising their children, but I'm sure they're always also potentially a resource. So, Raneem ElWelily, thank you so much for joining. I'm sorry about the technical problems. We'll see you.
Thank you for having me. And you'll see us all soon, inshallah. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, Raneem.
Bye.
Now, I don't know whether we're going to be joined by a couple or whether Pablo is going to give us back Noor Al-Shabini, but I will just say that on our schedule, the two individuals who are a couple, who we are going to welcome to the show, are two-time ToC champion Vanessa Atkinson and one-time ToC champion, there we go, James Willstrop.
That's a first.
We never kiss.
Hi, guys.
Hi. How are you?
All right. So we see the two of you. We don't see four of you. Are we going to see four of you a little later, or is it just going to be the two of you?
We've actually got a very good arrangement over here. We sort of share a house with my parents. So the kids can go through the attic and get to Grandma and Grandpa's, which we So we regularly just send them over there when we're absolutely sick of them, which is quite often.
And so, James, I did ask Ramy a question about his love life. He kind of dodged it, but you're a famous squash couple. So, James, I want you to tell us how, where, and when you fell in love with Vanessa.
Oh, gosh, that's a tricky one, isn't it? I think it was gradual, wasn't it? It was very, very gradual. But Hong Kong, I think, was maybe a turning point for us. We clapped eyes on each other over the Hong Kong function, didn't we? And I think you sort of reeled me in at that point, or the other way around, maybe. But yeah, it actually was. It was at a tournament, naturally, that we both played. I just lost in the semis to Shabana in Hong Kong, and we were at the tournament function. I think that's where we first met properly. Is that enough info?
James, you've got a new book out, and it's a compilation, I understand, of inspirational athletic stories. How did it come about?
Oh, thanks, John. Yeah. Well, I just had it going, sort of bubbling over the last few years, really, and I started interviewing people who I guess I'd admired. It was a lot in sporting arenas, but then I started to sort of move out into other places that I have found inspiration. I interviewed a couple of actors, a couple of chefs, some writers. So there were a lot of sportsmen, a few squash players, but it was a wide range of people, and it was lovely to sort of compare the different arenas, really. And it's out this week, so
great. Well, we hope we'll be able to promote it with you at the ToC in January. And Vanessa, you have become one of the regular stable of Squash TV commentators. I want to know what you would think of commentating on one of James's matches, and have you ever done it?
I have actually. I've done it a few times, and it's been fine. It's sort of strange to refer to him as Willstrop because we tend to use the surnames, and I always call him Jimbo. But no, that's been all right. The strangest thing I've had to do is when the times when I've done emceeing, where I've had to sort of interview him after a match, and it feels very formal to sort of be talking to him with a microphone, and asking him these questions, and so almost pretending that we're not a couple. So that was always more strange than the commentating, actually.
Vanessa, in just looking back over your career, and I hope I don't have this wrong, but I believe I read that you won your world championship in Malaysia, beating Nicol David. Is that the epitome of a career tournament?
I didn't actually beat Nicol in the World Championships. She lost in the semi-finals to Natalie Grinham in a ridiculous marathon of a match. So I got a very tired Natalie Grinham in the final, thankfully. But I have played Nicol. I did play Nicol a lot of times in Malaysia because we had a lot of tournaments there back in the day. And I managed to get a few wins against her with very partisan Kuala Lumpur crowd. Absolute silence if I would hit a winner, and they would go absolutely crazy every time she won a point. So it was quite an achievement to ever get a win against Nicol, generally, but especially on home soil.
Oh, James, particularly in the last, I don't know, 5 to 7 years, I have this image in my head of the way you go about playing a tournament and playing a match, and the image I have is that you're taking your briefcase to work. And that you open your briefcase, you take out the game, whatever the squash gods gave you that day, and you apply it for your hour and a half piece of work, and then you pack it back up in the briefcase and you leave. Do you know what I'm talking about? That sense of specificity.
That's a great analogy. I love it. I think I understand it because I think I probably have got a certain intensity about me. I think I think that's what you kind of mean. But sometimes I don't always pack up at the ToC that quickly, because I sort of stretch for about 3 hours underneath the grandstand often and warming down. I'm obviously the longest warmer downer in the history of squash. But yeah, no, maybe that is right. I don't know. But I guess I've been brought up to be quite professional about what I do, and I try to give my best. And if there's no point in doing it in a sort of rubbish, lackluster way, so I try and just give everything that I can to every moment that I'm there. And as Joey was saying, and PJ were touching on, my God, the atmosphere is just, it does really lift you. Going on to your particular tournament for a minute, and I think how much I've waxed lyrical about it over the years. I mean, I'm sure everyone's saying the same thing, but it really is just some atmosphere to play in front of. So once you're packing your briefcase or whatever, it's you don't need much motivation really for that business-like sort of manner and the professionalism to come out. I know I want to be there the next day, and the next day I want to be in the final. So the motivation's right there. So I do everything I can to play as well as I can.
I think we've got time for one last question, and James, just staying with you, you're a multi-talented individual, including singing and guitar playing, if not other instruments. You're an author and you're an actor. And I just want to know, what role would be your favorite role to play in a play or a musical?
Well, it's easy at the minute because I'm reading this incredible book about Hamilton, and I know it's really obvious, but it is an incredible piece of theatre. So it would have to be Hamilton. You like it as well, don't you? But yeah, it's a great piece of theatre. So yeah, playing Hamilton every night would do me.
All right,
James. I've called you squash's Renaissance man for a long time over the last few years, and I think Hamilton is sort of the ultimate Renaissance man too. So that would be, I think, sort of a perfect role for you. Just before we go, I'm wondering if your kids have. I know they play a little bit of squash, but I wonder if the acting or the emceeing, the announcing that Vanessa does, has any of that worn off on them? Are they interested in sort of getting out in front of crowds, in front of the public at some point?
Well, definitely Logan is showing that inclination. He's already started to write scripts, and he's he seems to have that flair and that desire to sort of perform in front of it. Generally, it's just us, his own family, but that's his favourite thing to do right now, isn't it?
Yeah, sneaked him into his first ToC, of course, last year, which was monumental for him. He's never going to forget that. So,
yeah.
All right. So I think we're going to wrap up with you both, and Will, why don't you say goodbye to those two? I'm just going to check to see who we're welcoming in next.
Well, James and Vanessa, you know that we love having you both in New York. I think one of the great things is having Vanessa doing the announcing. We get to see both of you in New York on a yearly basis, and we hope that continues for a number more years. So thank you, guys. Bring the kids.
Thank you. Can't wait to come back. Thanks very much.
Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.
And I'm not 100% sure, Will, whether we're getting our 2019 champion on audio here, or whether we're taking another shot at Noor Al-Shabini. What surprise does Pablo have for us?
We'll see who comes in.
Can you guys hear me?
Ali, how are you?
I'm good. I'm very sorry I can't tune in with a video, but it's just the poor internet connection. But I'm very happy to be with you guys.
Well, the picture that we have of you makes you look like you're about 16 and going on your prom with a nice bow tie on, so it's very complimentary.
I'm not sure actually where you guys got this picture, but I love it. It was my wedding night, so I definitely have a very special memory with that picture.
Well, as I think most of the audience knows, I just want to properly introduce you. You, of course, are the current world #1 player, and you are the 2019 Tournament of Champions champion. And you are also married to Noor Al-Tayeb. And I think I want to just start there for a second, because you may have seen that we talked to Raneem, who retired because she had a baby. And almost just a few months after that, we all got the announcement that Noor was retiring because she was having a baby. So tell me what it's like to be on the brink of fatherhood. How has that been affecting you?
Well, everybody who knows me knows how much I love kids since a very young age and how much I've wanted kids for a long time. And now that we're expecting, I can't be more excited, to be honest. But hopefully it's not a full retirement for Noor now. Let's hope it's a temporary one and she can come back on tour to excite us all as always.
Yeah, well, that would be wonderful for all of us who are fans of the both of you. And do you know whether it's going to be a boy or girl? And if you do know, do you mind telling us, or is that a secret?
Yes, it's going to be a baby girl, which is very exciting. Maybe we found already a wife for little Shahir here.
So since you brought that up, I think you told me something kind of funny, which was that your OBGYN is the same as Raneem's. Is that true?
What's that again? I'm sorry?
That your doctor for Noor is the same as Raneem's? Is that what you told me before?
Yes, and it's a pure coincidence. I mean, it just happened that the two of them go to the same doctor, which is great because we've been getting a lot of advice from ToC and Raneem on what we should be expecting in the next visit, which is very exciting, to be honest.
And you guys are close. Were you? How soon after Shahir was born did you get to go see him?
We get to go to visit the doctor every 3 weeks, so we should be seeing him next week, which is exciting again, I guess.
Well, I want to change topics a little bit here for a second because I remember that you, when you started out playing, and you and Noor were serious but not yet married, you wanted to do something for her. You wanted to do something special for her, and I know that she had a love of watches in particular. And I think that you wanted to maybe give her a special watch, but you were not rich. So tell me a little bit about that.
Thank you for switching Noor up there. Well, you know how the Motor City, the tournament that is always right after the Tournament of Champions that we play in Detroit, they offer a Rolex for the winner. And I remember it was only my second full-time year on tour. And I was only number 7 seed, I believe. And all the great players were playing, the likes of Mohammed Shorabagi, Nick Matthew. I don't want to forget anyone, but so many great players I'd never beaten before. And after I signed up, a couple of weeks later, they sent us an email saying that it's going to be a Longines for the winner this year rather than a Rolex. And not that it was a great deal for me because I was only number 7 seed, but Noor and I were engaged at the time, so I forwarded the email. And I remember her replying saying, Ali, as if you're going to win it, you're only number 7. And don't get me wrong, Noor is one of my biggest believers, but at the time it was such a long shot. And ironically, somehow I ended up winning the tournament, and this is how I couldn't afford getting her any watches, to be honest. But at the time, I sold the Longines and I bought the Rolex that she still owns until this very day. So it was a funny, happy memory.
Well, when you are really in love with somebody, I think, you'll do anything to give her a special gift. And even if it means when you're seated 17 and having to win the tournament.
Yeah,
one of the
she
things
knows how to get her gifts, it's just to tease me, and this is how she's going to get the best out of me.
Ali, when we see you play, you look like such a unbelievable professional, and it looks like nothing ever bothers you. You and I have talked, real life has come into your path over the last year, both on the high and the low end, with your nephew, I'm sorry, dying, but now about to be a dad. And when you and I were talking, you said that you hoped that somehow this would help people understand that you are more than just a squash player. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. You've gone to the extremes there, which obviously tell the message very loud and clear. But even though on a very, very small detail, when you have like you wake up and you're not feeling it, and you just have to step on court and perform at your very best in front of the crowd for your own self, for your coaches, and you're just not feeling it. There is a little niggle in your body, or you've just had some bad news that you've heard, and just little news, not even as bad as the one that you just mentioned, or even as good as the one you just mentioned. And people just kind of, it's hard for non-athletes to understand how tough this is, to just block everything out and just step on court and act as a robot. And we're human beings at the end of the day. And I think this is one of the messages that kind of annoy me a little whenever people criticize athletes. Why would you not do this? Why would she not do that? And it's just because we're human beings at the end of the day. Some days are better than others, and you just have to come out on top every time is impossible.
Well, I think, Ali, one of the reasons that people sometimes forget that is they see amazing performers like you who get on the court, and you may have had these things, but you seem to play well almost every time. But I do think it's worth reminding everybody that you are a human being and that you are, you have little things going on too, but it makes your performances all the more remarkable.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you so much. And then again, I mean, I know everybody has been talking about the ToC, but personally, I have a very fond memory of reaching the world #1 spot on that very court. So, and aside from being my favorite stop on tour as a city and as a tournament, and as PJ was alluding to, that this is where we feel the most mega stars. So I just can't wait to being back next year from the 13th to the 22nd of January of 2022.
Well, we're very excited to have you back, not just for next year, but hopefully for many years to come. You are a great champion and the world #1 player right now, and the New York crowd loves seeing you perform there.
Thank you so much, Will.
Okay, well, Ali, thank you very much. Oh, look, we've got Noor. Excellent. Noor, welcome. Can you hear me? Oh, we still may have technical difficulties.
I think we're going to reach the end. If we are unable to speak to Noor Al-Shabini, it leaves our show a little unfinished, and she's a wonderful person that we would have enjoyed talking to. But I think, given where we are, we have a few more duties to do. It's time to sort of start our wrap up.
Well, so on that, first of all, let me say thank you to you, John, for coming up with this idea and for arranging all the players to come. One of the things that's wonderful about this is getting to see and hear from players in a less formal setting where they're talking about some of their interests other than squash. And I think one of the things that's most important to say is to say thank you to all the people who have tuned in, because a lot of you are Tournament of Champions fans who show up every year. And as I hope you've heard the players say again and again, is you are really one of the things that makes New York the most special tournament on the entire tournament calendar. And they love coming to New York. They love performing. And a lot of it is because of the fans, you guys who are here today. But John, I think there are also some people who have helped you put this whole thing together. And I think you may want to say some thanks to those people.
Well, Will, as an integral member of our team, we do have a close-knit group of people who make the Tournament of Champions run. And foremost among them is my partner and collaborator, Melissa Winstanley, who I have done every single of our 57 promotions of portable glass courts events with. But special thanks to Brad Burke for his video work on this, to Jennifer Lesnick for her player wrangling, and to Spritz Media, Beth Schnitzer and Pauline Simard from California and France who worked on our social. It's really been a wonderful team effort, and we look forward to bringing everybody back in January for the 22 Tournament of Champions. And as we wrap, thanks to you, Will, thanks to Pablo and Aaron, our producers, and to Cisco WebEx, we want to leave you with a very special message from our two-time Tournament of Champions champion and defending champion, Camille Serm. See you later, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Hi, everyone. I'm so sorry not to be with you live tonight. Busy day in Paris with training. but thinking a lot of you, I hope you had fun with all the ToC champions. And I wanted to tell you something. In French, we have a say, it's jamais deux sans trois. So, which means 3 always goes with 2, kind of. So, just as you see, I have 2 ToC trophy, but wait, there's one missing. So I'll have to come back next year. See you in January 2022 in Grand Central Station for the ToC. Bye!